We'll call the Crow Wing County Budget Committee meeting to order on Thursday, June the 11th, 2020 at 9 a.m. in the county board room, meeting room in the historic courthouse. And our finance director, go ahead.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. So first thing on the agenda today is just the financial update. So far through the end of May, we are actually outperforming in revenues by a little over $2 million, just a little under $3 million. Actually, it's $2.8 million that we overperformed so far. All of that, besides a small bit of other pieces, is a direct result of highway pulling in funding earlier than anticipated. So they budget on a monthly basis. They anticipate that money to come in different periods of time based on when the project occurs. We asked them to pull that a little bit earlier, so that's actually put us at about 114% of what we budgeted for revenues through the end of May. Expense-wise, we are at 96.35% of what we budgeted. We are performing better than anticipated in community services in their public aid assistance programs. That is a $890,000 variance from what they budgeted. It makes up the good portion of everything we have. We're also under in personnel services. This is most likely due to just timing of when positions were added versus when we started budgeting those positions. So it actually puts us in a different position there. Cash flow wise, we are ahead of where we anticipate. A lot of that, again, is due to the overperformance of revenue through this point and the overperformance of expenses, or under, however you want to phrase that. We still anticipate that we will be bumping at that zero, if not negative, in June, which is normal for us for available cash flows, as we have a number of cash flows that are restricted. But we are ahead of where we anticipated to be at this point in time. Any questions on where we're at today?
When revenues are outperforming this early in the year, is that just a timing issue? I mean, were those revenues budgeted, but just budgeted for later in the year?
Those revenues were budgeted for, they were budgeted for later in the year.
And the expenses for them were also budgeted
Later in the year. Yep.
Okay, so that's not going to necessarily cause a deficit for us at the end of the year. It's just timing, and it's going to wash its way out.
It should wash itself out. The only revenue source that we are watching very closely right now is local option sales tax. That did come in slightly lower for this last month's collection. It was about a 3.4% decline over last year. It was somewhere around that, probably 6 to 7% decline over what we had budgeted for that time period. But it's not a significant change, but it is different from what we anticipated at this point.
What month does that collection reflect at the retail level?
So if we collected in June, the state got it in May, the retailer collected it in April.
So that's April lost, 3% down. I think a lot of us are a bit surprised.
We haven't received April's yet.
We received the estimate for April.
Okay.
In the beginning of this month.
Okay.
Amount.
No, not the final amount.
We're starting to see some of the COVID impacts on local option sales tax, and it is a bit surprising that it wasn't down more than what it is. I think we're still quite cautious about it because, you know, March was still early and there was some hoarding going on. So we're going to watch that, continue to watch that closely. But right now, it's knock on wood. Okay.
If you're in Baxter on the weekends, I'm surprised it isn't up.
It may be now, because it's clear if you look at the highways on Fridays. I tried to get on the highway going south on Sunday night, and holy crap, it was hard. So cautiously optimistic about that. What can you tell us about tax collections through this part of the year?
Tax collections actually performed very well. We were watching that. It was actually trending low for a little bit there, but as we got closer to the due date, taxpayers appeared to make their payments. We actually outpaced last year's, which puts us pretty close to in line with a normal collection rate up through the collection, or up through the due date in May.
So what happens economically between now and the second half tax payment is particularly important to us, and local option sales tax will be a good bellwether for that. I do hear about people getting called back to work, which is a good thing. I don't know that I think it's probably realistic to think we're going to go right back to where we were. But the further and the faster we can get there, then that can make our budget look okay at the end of the year. And that's what we're trying to manage to, of course, is try to hit those numbers. So indications thus far, encouraging, and I'm still cautious.
Any other questions on it?
Mr. Chair, can
Yes.
we take a quick break so we can restart the stream? There's something wrong with the
Oh,
camera
sure,
view.
yeah. We'll stop and start again.
There we